to put the icing on the cake in that fight too, like not only is this like character so hard to hit, I actually got him down to like, a pretty low HP, like maybe like one or two hits. And then they use like a fairy card to heal themselves up to like half, like more than half. I remember I was like playing on my ROG Ally and I just like kind of like put it down and just like stared off at like nothing. I was like, are you effing kidding me?
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys play duel monsters, and we're linking up to talk about the games we love. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Don.
And this is episode number 20.
20!
This week's episode is the
20.
big 2-0.
That's kind of a milestone. I didn't think we were going to make it past 10, to be honest with you.
Well,
Here we are.
Delivering wonderful retro gaming content for all you people out there.
That's right. You don't have to like us. We're not going anywhere. Just kidding. Definitely like this video, please.
Yeah, we're going somewhere. We're going that way. Whatever that means.
Up.
Diagonally up. Yeah, not straight. Diagonally.
See, it's like a good thing. I don't know what else to say. So, this week's episode is a Victory Road, and our game was submitted by both Lysianthia and Danko Misty, and it is Lost Kingdoms. So get ready to upload data from us to you, but first...
What game is it?
Picture. Lost Kingdoms.
Wait, what game? What game did you just say? I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Anyway, Go ahead.
It's lost.
We have to find it.
We found it.
It's like Waldo, you know? It's a long 3-day weekend, and you and your buddy have been playing around with your Yu-Gi-Oh! Or your Magic cards, or whatever card game that you want to think of. And you guys are trying to build the coolest decks to compete with each other. You end up pondering yourself about how you think cards would act if they came to life in the real world. And you blurt out, excitedly, to your friend, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually summon these monsters from the cards and battle them in real life, just like in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show?" Your buddy humors you a little bit because they themselves have pondered this question before. And in that moment, they have a flashback about a game that they owned. You both excitedly dig through their collection of all these great games, passing everything from Ninja Turtles to Sonic and Mario and all the cool stuff in the boxes. And finally, you come upon this game called Lost Kingdoms, a game you yourself have never heard of. You are intrigued and excited, to see what kind of adventure was about to unfold.
Very nice.
Well, I'm certainly ready to talk about it.
And we will.
Yeah.
But Dan has to do our question of the week.
And I've got a little something too.
Oh, really
yeah.
now?
Yeah. We have another topic of discussion.
Yummy.
Go ahead, Dan.
All right.
What's our question of the week,
All right.
Dan?
So, question of the week. This comes from Alpha Data. He says, "Hey, in your opinion, who is the hottest video game character?" Who wants to take this one?
I can answer that definitively. There is no arguing with this one. It is Mag Cargo from the Pokemon series. It says right in the Pokedex entry that its body temperature can get up to 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which just for reference is 8,000 degrees hotter than the sun. You just can't beat it. Like the Human Torch can go supernova. It's not hotter than a Mag Cargo.
Nope. Wow.
Wouldn't that thing like melt holes in the ground? I don't understand.
I think it would just be in the center of the earth. I don't know. Pokemon doesn't make a lot of sense. They put like exactly no thought into the Pokedex entries and stuff. But if you want me to answer the question the other way, how about Tyrus Flare from the Golden Axe series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because she's also a fire mage,
Hey.
you know?
Yeah. It's a valid pick.
Fair enough.
Top that, boy.
How about you, Dan?
Oh, he's gonna make me go second. To be honest, I haven't really given this much thought.
Yes, you have.
But I mean, this. All right, it's definitely 0 for Mega Man X. All right.
He's got the green nipples.
He's got a.
The
Do you have
long
an
hair.
inflatable? Do you have an inflatable?
She's right there. No, I mean, all joking aside, I mean, this answer's probably cliche, but it's probably going to be Lara Croft. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the first female protagonists or video game characters in general that I've played, that like featured a female. So, I mean, she's got like a little special place.
I feel like
for
being
me.
into Lara Croft nowadays kind of has the same feeling to it as if someone were to say, "Oh, I'm into Marilyn Monroe." You get like the really high class feel to it, like.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
mean, yeah. I mean, I think this is like a tough question because I really don't know, and that's the one I could think of, honestly.
Yeah, like, I don't like think about the medium in that way, like the
Yes.
video gaming medium.
Yes,
so
you
it's
have.
pretty tough for me to. I know I haven't really. There's so many there's so much attention that like movie stars and like all kinds of stuff that just like draw my attention much more than video games do in that regard. But like a couple of things that I think of are like Sheva from Resident Evil 5. She looks nice. I don't know. I'll just go with that one.
How about
Shiva?
Dracula? How about Dracula from Castlevania series? He's definitely a daddy.
Yeah.
How about you,
Samus?
I feel like Samus is a pretty obvious pick.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you for that, Alpha Data.
So, we had some other people who answered that, right? So
Sure did. They answered it, so I'm gonna say it. Your picks. You guys said it. You answered this. I also said Miss Pac-Man, which is true. Miss Pac-Man is pretty up there. She's always been there for me.
she's in shape. Round is a shape.
Yep.
Round is a shape.
Absolutely is.
So, Chef Doug says WR102 in Universe Sandbox 2 or Baba, because Baba is you, baby.
What? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know either. He explained it to me,
I'll
and I still
explain
don't know. Oh, all right.
So-
Go ahead, please.
Universe Sandbox or whatever it is it's a simulator, but you can make things happen in the universe, and this is like the hottest star in the universe or whatever. So technically, it's in a video game.
Oh.
But is it a
Okay.
character, or is it just an object? would you
No.
say?
Like it's like a simulator of outer space, right? You have the planets and the stars and celestial bodies and everything, and this is just like the hottest star. It's not a video game; it's a simulator. But because
Okay.
you can control things, it's like a video game.
All right. Well, Baba
So-
for you guys, if you don't know, is like a little bunny creature. He's part of a puzzle game where the whole puzzle of the game is to manipulate the rules, right? So you'll start out with like words on the screen, and you're Baba, and you're there with the words. Like you can interact, you can push the words, and then there's also like a maze with blocks, and there's a flag you have to get to. So like the first two rules are Baba is you, so you're the little bunny, and you can move him around, and then flag is win.
Okay.
So if you touch the flag, you win. But you could say like flag is you, and now you move the flag. Or wall is you, and now you move all the walls in the maze, right? And then if you're stuck as the walls, you can touch the flag or whatever. And it's a really off the wall puzzle game. It's great if you haven't tried it, and it's
That
usually
seems
dirt
fun.
cheap. Yeah. And then Alpha Data, the man himself, says he's a Tifa guy. Tifa Bros Unite. Also, a close second is Gruntilda. He didn't answer the follow-up question whether it was pre or post transformation from 2D. So, look, I'm not gonna yuck on somebody's yum. All right, whatever you're into. We've got.
So we were talking to Chef Doug at one point, right? And he said that he wouldn't be surprised if Hux picked the mayor of SimCity again. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
He would. JMO says unconventional pick, but he's going with Delilah from Firewatch. You never see her, but you could cut the romantic tension in that game with a freaking butter knife. I don't know who that is. You guys played Firewatch?
No.
Have not.
Right.
I have to find it.
Right?
Oh. I've heard of this game.
I think you just talked to her over a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never meet her in person.
It's the game looks pretty cool. But I haven't played it. You're
All
like
pretty interesting
hiking through
answers.
the woods or whatever, and you have to find the different Firewatch towers and make your way through or something. It seems pretty cool.
Yeah, and she's like leading you. I thought the couple from the game, I think it's called It Takes Two. Have you guys seen that game? It's the one where you play as you're almost like two little toys. And it's like a puzzle platformer type of a game. It's supposed to be really, really good.
I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, same.
Man, I've heard of all these games, and I just have no time. Being an adult, don't grow up.
Being a retro gaming podcaster doesn't help with the modern gaming either.
Right.
And before we get into that game today, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. A little bit of news for you. The ROG Ally X comes out on Monday. And I just wanted to look at some of the specs because I'm heavily considering a ROG Ally X, and every time something comes out, I'm like, ooh.
Oh boy.
Really
I hope
want
you're
it so
ready
bad.
to drop
Yeah.
800 big ones on it.
I don't know that I am, but I am ready to ogle it. So this model's going to have and we'll leave a link in our description that'll bring you to a grid if you are interested in the ROG Ally and you're wondering whether you should pick up the old model for a much cheaper price or the new model. We'll leave a link in our description to a grid that shows the differences between the two. But it has the same chip as the original model, so everything, graphically it's kind of all the same there. But the battery is actually twice the size. It's 80 watts up from 40, and it actually charges faster. It's 100 watts up from 65. However, still comes with a 65-watt charger. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get twice the battery life. There's other components in this thing that are going to eat up some battery life, but you can at least predict more. Maybe it'll be a little bit heavier, but personally, I don't care about the weight.
I've heard that the weight is very slightly more than the Steam Deck, by a couple grams. So it's not much heavier than the Steam Deck at all.
So you own both of them. Do you find yourself straining to lift either?
Okay, so for me, if I'm playing, say, usually I don't swap between them frequently. Usually if I'm playing a game, I'll stick to that game for at least a little bit. So say if I'm playing my ROG Ally, I get used to the weight for that for a while. And then when I swap to the Steam Deck, I do notice that it's heavier, but it's nothing crazy. But yeah,
You're just
the
straining
difference
to hold
is
it after a while. It's just sinking.
Yeah, I'm just
my biceps are so sore from holding this thing. I'm sitting on the couch. I can't handle it.
Yeah, no, but so the Steam Deck, it's I think the ROG Ally X is very, very slightly heavier than that, not even noticeable. And if you're a Steam Deck owner, you know how it feels. It's not that heavy at all. The ROG Ally is just pretty light for what it is.
I suppose it's better than hauling your laptop around, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
8 more
Fair.
gigabytes of RAM, bringing it to a total of 24, which I think is pretty impressive for that little package.
Yeah.
And supposedly it's a faster stick of RAM. I'm not smart enough to tell you what that means, but supposedly faster. There's improved D-pad and buttons. I'm going to put that in quotes because I feel like that's a preference thing. Except when you do the Contra test. The Contra test and the Hadouken test are real. Your D-pad should be
So
able to do both
there's
those
a
things.
thing on the ROG Ally X that I thought that was really neat, was you can actually swap out like the D-pads and analog sticks, which you cannot do with the original.
Oh, it's
So
much
like,
more upgradable.
yeah, so I've had this problem with like my ROG Ally that I have now. I mean, it works perfectly fine, but the issue that I have is like on the left analog stick, like the rubber thing that's on top of it, it's like spinning, and it's kind of annoying.
That would drive me nuts. I'd be back. I'd be calling them up.
Yeah, so that thing like that right there is like why I would like opt for like a ROG Ally X, because you can swap something like that out. And this problem I had just recently, probably like within like 2 weeks ago.
It's also going to have louder stereo speakers and finally a more robust cooling system, which are some of the components I was talking about that are going to eat up a little bit more of the battery life. So, I think all that's cool. We're not really a tech type of podcast, but I think what I really wanted to conclude about all of this is that it seems to me that a company like Asus is used to making things like laptops. And I'm definitely more of a console gamer. So I feel like I want to have the latest console to play the latest games. But these little devices, they're more like computers. Like, and I don't think that
Yeah, they are.
maybe you need the latest one to play the latest games, that maybe they're a little bit ahead. I don't know what you guys think about that, but like, I think like maybe these
Hardware
shouldn't be
definitely
treated as,
outscales
yeah.
hardware. Like hardware outscales the games because the games take so long to make. So it's like spending the all the money on the most up to date, highest end PC. Yeah, sure, it might only last 5 years being like on top, but it's gonna run games for like 10 years.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, so I don't feel like,
Yeah,
this is giving me like iPhone vibes, right? Where there's going to be a new model every single year, and then in the middle they're going to have releases of like, refreshes of the same models and stuff, and like I just don't know that it's something that you have to keep up on. Like, so when I'm looking at this and I'm still sitting on the fence of actually buying one, I still think the original model is a viable option. So that's kind of
oh
As long yeah,
as
as they
my
don't,
100,
conclusion from
it
this.
100% is.
as long as they don't attack your battery life as soon as the new one releases.
You mean with
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
OS updates and stuff?
yeah.
Yeah. So like the thing with like these computer handhelds is like they're still fairly new. Like I think like the Steam Deck's only like 2 years old. Like the ROG Ally is like a year and a half, something like that. So like it's very much still in its infancy. So you're probably gonna see like upgrade after upgrade for at least probably the first 5 years, I'd imagine.
But since they are PCs, I think their release schedule is going to be different from like, consoles upgrade because the hardware can no longer sustain the software that the company wants to put out, I think, right? Or they're just trying to sell you
Yeah.
more. But generally speaking, when you upgrade a console, there's a significant upgrade in the games like that come with it.
Right.
Unless we're talking about PlayStation 4 versus 5, then there's only a little tiny difference between the games, but um yeah, I just don't think it has to be thought of that way, you know. So if you're sitting on the fence, just jump right in. Jump right in, and I'll jump in after you sometime. So
Yeah.
yeah. You guys ready to talk about Lost Kingdoms?
Hell yeah.
All right. Lost Kingdoms is very lost, very little known. Is a 2002 RPG developed by From Software, if you can believe it, for the GameCube.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It uses an action card battling system where you control your character movements freely in the field of battle while playing cards to attack or summon monster allies.
It's like the precursor to Sticker Star.
Is that how Sticker Star works?
Yes.
Oh no. So
Except you burn the stickers like immediately.
and today is is a Victory Road game where we got this game from some of our communities. So today's going to be more of like an informal geek out as opposed to like a formal review where we'll, offer our opinions on whether you should or should not play it. But, I think that I guess I'll start with like overall impressions. So if I want to take the idea of like an RPG card battler, my mind immediately goes to something like Mega Man Battle Network, right? So I'm in. So I feel like with this
Yeah.
analysis, I kind of got to work backwards. So let's assume that this is like an S tier game, and then let's kind of peel back the onion a little bit until we get to where we need to be.
It has
Right.
layers like
It's
an
gonna be a-
onion.
Let's
There's
have
gonna be a
layers.
lot of peeling.
So like
A lot of peeling.
the
It's
story.
like a scab.
So the story to start, I'd say, is like, so you're the princess of this nation, and you can't fight, and nobody believes you can fight, and they make it very apparent from the get go that you're just not a fighter, and boo-hoo you, girls are wimpy. And then there's
Hey,
a
listen.
black fog.
Anybody can be powerful if you give them a crossbow.
They can, but Katya isn't. So, or Katya, or whatever her name is, she's not.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. She's a delicate little flower. So there's a black fog sweeping across these nations, and there's 5 nations or whatever. I think they all represent the elements of the game. And like there's monsters that accompany the fog, and they're just basically going from village to village, running it over. And Katya's father, the king, who can fight and has an army, went out to go figure out, what's the deal with this black fog, and hasn't come back, and there's been no word. So Katya takes it upon herself to go on a journey to find her father and, deal with the consequences of the black fog. And to do that, she uses an artifact called the Rune Stone to use the cards of power, which apparently lay around everywhere. And you might, as a person in these medieval times, encounter a card of power but not be able to use it or know even what it is.
Well, you have to be able to read, so
Yeah,
true. It's medieval times.
So they, and they allow Katya to fight, right? And you just go from level to level to level. There is kind of a world map, but it's more like you click on the location you want to go to, and you just, go through the location. You fight the monsters there in the battle system. So I'll shut up now, and we'll start this. We'll start this conversation. That's kind of the first 10 minutes or so.
Right.
You know what I find funny about this world map is the only reason they allow you to select anywhere is to go to either the fairy house or the apothecary, and then you might unlock a special like side mission or whatever, but you can't go backwards. So like it's almost useless. Almost.
It's a really interesting choice, yeah, because like once you visit a location and you beat it, you get a score. Like it ranks you from 1 to 5 stars on how well you did, right? And then you can't like Steve said, that's it. That's your score for the whole run through until you beat the game, and then you can go back to locations. But yeah, no,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know that either.
it may as well just be a menu basically where you could hit next mission, or shop or fairy house.
I never realized that it actually locked you out of that place, until you beat the game. I never really tried to get a better score because I just like whizzed through the game, but because there was times where I was like, oh, maybe I can get a better score on this map, but I actually never actually tried to. So that's interesting to know that you can't go back to an area until you beat the game.
And it's kind of like the battle system, I think, is kind of neat. I feel like if this game was done with Yu-Gi-Oh IP and like Yu-Gi-Oh stories, this would have been awesome. Like if they had done like the whole backgrounds like that, and they had the characters, and you ran around trying not to get killed by the shadow monsters while they fought each other. Like I think that'd be pretty dope. But they didn't. This is a whole different IP. So like the battle system is you play as Katya and you run around just like I said, try not to get killed. And you throw cards out, and the cards, there's like 3 basic kind of cards. One is a weapons card, which makes you like do an attack. So like the weapons card is like a sword swing, right? So you'll swing the sword, and you can use that card a couple times before it burns, right? And then there's a summon card that lets you do like an action. You Katya turns into a monster who does an action and then it's gone. It's used up. And then there's independent cards, right? It's the last one.
Is that like the summon ones, right? The ones that go out and fight for you?
Well,
Yeah.
summon is a different thing, but I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, the independent ones are like monsters that you summon that actually stay on the battlefield and
Right.
they roam around and do things.
And they so like there's the three basic types, and then when they get used up, like for that mission, they're just gone. Like you can't get them back unless you have a special card that lets you get them back. But like assume you don't. You have 30 cards when you start the mission, and those 30 cards have to last you through the whole mission. Basically, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There's no like discard pile reshuffle kind of a thing going on.
Right. I actually had like a little bit of a hard time in the beginning of the game because like before you start getting those cards that like kind of like replenish like your discard pile or whatever, there was times where I actually ran out. And the one gripe, well, I have many gripes, but a gripe that I do have with like the battle system is I feel like Katya needs at least like a melee attack or some sort because you almost like soft lock yourself out of a mission when you run out of cards because you
No,
literally
you do.
cannot do anything.
You do.
Yeah,
And if you
it's
didn't have an abort button, like you'd have to sit there and die.
right. So, and you know what? Another thing is too is I don't know if you can abort mid battle, but I know you can't run from boss battle. So if you run out of cards, you might actually just have to die.
No, you can abort
I think there's
because
an abort in the menu.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
that happened to me, and I ran around for a little bit, being like, oh, what do I do now? Basically, like yeah, I was able to avoid
I
attacks, but I couldn't crack back.
yeah.
So
I don't know if that's like an oversight, but like like I feel like Mega Man Battle Network does it like beautifully. Where like if you somehow do run out of chips, you have the Mega Buster to rely on to at least attack back. You're
Right.
like it's like a horrible game design when you use up all your cards and you're just literally just running around and you can't do nothing. It I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think that's awful.
Yeah, I
another
think it's not a
game,
good choice.
yeah, another game that does this is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, but the shuffle system in that game makes it very unlikely you run out of cards, and then at the beginning of every battle you replenish your deck. Like if you run out of cards completely in that game, I feel like you definitely mess something up. Like because there
Yeah.
is like a shuffle mechanic where you end up losing a couple of cards and then you get the whole rest of your deck back, but in this there really isn't. But it's funny because that's something they did because they had PvP in mind for this game. And the reason I know that is because many cards throughout the game have a you can't use this in multiplayer under the fair play rule tag.
Yeah.
So like
I
they
read that a lot
definitely
in other cards.
they put thought into the idea that you would your friend would bring a memory card over and you would fight each other in this game. Like
Yeah.
dare I say balance. But so it's a
But no
strange
two
choice.
people own the game, so
Yeah, man. I gotta say, I went Googling around for stuff, for this podcast, and oh man, there is very little about this game. I mean, and if you just Google, Lost Kingdoms for the GameCube, it's like 25% the game you're looking for and 75% about the sequel. Like people care way more about the sequel than they do this first one, and it limits the
Yeah.
amount of information available even more. It's actually kind of crazy how
yeah.
little known this is. The hiddenest of hidden gems.
It's in the black fog somewhere.
So I just I think game design wise, like presentation wise, I felt like everything was a little bit I don't know, bland? Bland to be the word? Like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
cards are cool, but you know how Yu-Gi-Oh has like personality? Like their monsters have like a certain look, like that's a Yu-Gi-Oh monster when you're looking at like Dark Magician, right? Like there's just something about it, right? I'd
Yeah.
say the cards are all pretty standard like D&D fare, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
kind of
That's a fair assumption. Yeah,
yeah,
you got like your skeleton, your generic skeleton, or like your generic orc or ogre.
dragons,
Werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
goblins, harpies, like it's all stuff that, you know, I'd say like low fantasy, like very, very approachable. Fairies.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I was not very impressed with the graphical style and the art choices that they made. Like, it felt like it was like unfinished. Like its
Yeah, there's
presentation was
there's
just
some parts like the last level, right, where there's like no background, right? Like you have the maze, and then there's like a weird like swirling vortex, and like that's your background, and the maze is just like a I don't know, it's like you're on a bridge in the middle of a black hole. That's the only way I can say it.
yeah. Well, it's like they took a random like repeating GIF and just pasted it in the background.
And like
That's
when a
probably what
battle
they did.
happens, your field of vision gets cut into a square, and that becomes your arena to fight in, right? So wherever you are, if the random battle happens, that it like chops a piece of the maze up, and then like in the background, it's just like sky blue,
Yeah,
like it's like a
yeah.
sky blue
Yeah,
swirl.
You know what I thought was
it's weird.
kind of neat with the battle system though was it actually tracks you where you are on when you're battling monsters. So like say like you beat like you get into a random encounter and you fight that you beat that enemy or whatever, you'll actually be at that spot on the world map. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like
Yeah, and it's important for things like there's obstacles that you can break in battle that affect like treasure chests that you can access in the non-battle area. Like,
yeah,
you
I say
know,
it's
if you want
another
to spend
strange
cards to get
choice
cards.
because you can only interact with objects in battle. Like you can't break them outside of battle, which is so interesting. Like you'd think that you could just use a card. Like if you felt like using it, you could just do it, but you can't. And
right.
cards in battle correspond to the four face buttons on the GameCube controller. So like you have a hand of four cards, and you can press a button to use them, right? Um, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the controls for a minute. So if you didn't read the manual, like I didn't when I turned this game on, I'm pretty sure you guys didn't
I
read the
didn't either.
manual either. The
Nope.
copy I found at the game store didn't come with a manual. Okay, I didn't read it.
Ugh.
But you can find these red fairies, right? And the red fairies are a collectible item, and they're missable. Like so, if you get 100 of them, you get a special reward at the end. But they're like a side quest. But they actually tell you useful things, even though they're totally missable, that
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
don't hear anywhere else. Like for instance, you can capture monsters and make them into cards. There's a capture button.
Wait. What?
you
Tell
didn't
me
know
Yeah,
that.
about
yeah.
this.
See, so
Tell me
you
about
just
this.
you
This
just didn't
instant.
encounter the fairy that tells you, right? So you hold down the L button and you throw a card. You hold down whatever face button that of the card you want to throw. She throws it, and then you steer the card into the monster, and it hits them for a meager amount of damage. But if they die from it, they get turned into a card, and it's how you get some of the like
Oh
super
my
rare
goodness.
cards. Like right, and you won't
I did
know
not know that.
unless you find this collectible fairy and read the text. Like if you're just mashing through the text, you're not going to see anything the fairy says. Which you also, I think, have to press A to get a fairy. So a couple times I mashed through the text and I was like, oh god, I hope I didn't miss something.
You actually don't have to press A to run up to it. They just when you touch one, the text automatically starts. So I've actually tried to hit A to like interact with one, and I've skipped the first like chat box because of that multiple times on some fairies
But
until
why
I
would
actually
they?
figured it out.
Why would they put tutorial information in a collectible item that's missable? Why would they do that?
That
Here's my hot take.
It's
what's your
bonkers.
hot take?
My hot take is that From Software did not know what they were doing, and they were not a very good studio until after everybody was like, "Yeah, we like Dark Souls."
Yeah, pretty much.
So like I feel like Dark Souls was a messy, like beautiful mistake.
Yeah,
And they just
yeah, for
ran.
sure.
They're
Because then
like,
you had
we're
like
gonna make
Kingsfield.
we're gonna make Dark Souls in Japan. We're gonna make Dark Souls that's faster paced. Like,
They made Demon Souls, but nobody loves that game. People love Dark Souls.
Yeah. I mean,
I shouldn't
that's
say nobody, but
yeah,
like,
that's where the genre comes from. And they call it, well, like, I mean, I guess they call it Souls like, but like
yeah,
right when it was new, they were calling it like Dark Souls like.
I don't know that Souls-like is like actually a
But yeah, that
genre. It's my hot take.
it
no, it
Like
is.
is. It is.
there are Souls games and then there's nothing else. There's one Crab's Treasure and that's it. And if you want to throw that in there, like what else is a Souls like? Like other than
Well,
other
they,
games made by FromSoft,
Bloodborne.
because that's not fair. No, it's also from FromSoft. It's the same technology.
well, the, well,
Yeah,
no,
but all
this,
Mario games are Mario, and they all count as Mario
well,
games.
no,
So
Yeah,
there is a
exactly.
few. There's Lies of P. There's Nio. That's
oh
like a
yeah,
Souls
Nio.
like.
Okay.
Um, there's a couple other out there, but they are out there.
I think it's stretched to call that a genre. It's not like saying Metroidvania. It's very, very stretched. I'll accept it. It's my hot
Uh,
take right there.
I mean, I know Steam has it as a category.
So there's back to Lost Kingdoms. What did you guys think of the music?
Awful. Like every music, you just hear that over and over.
There's a wide array of instruments. I'm just saying, there's
There's
like organs and stuff. Like somebody tried.
so like some of the maps had like the church music was different, and it was like somewhat creepy, but also like fit the church. And other than that, nothing else is like extremely memorable, except the
No.
battle music was burned into my brain because
Yep.
it's like a 30-second loop.
It's one of those guys. It's
It's like
there's
worst.
one battle track, and it's no matter what battle you're in, you hear it. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Agreed.
They must have been working on like a really low budget. I didn't look at the budget of the game, but
Well, they saw that Pokemon was doing well in card games, so they're like, "Well, what can we do? Let's hash this out real quick."
Yeah, I mean, and like I was really big into card games. I know Steve was too. I don't know how much you were, Dan, but like, maybe I'm not like the best video gamer.
I was so.
Yeah, but like this game really intrigues. Like I beat it because I love card games so much, and now I want to play more card games. Like it actually got me back into playing the.
this doesn't count as a card game.
Doesn't it though? You build a deck.
No, it counts as like a randomly generated attack selecting game. Like it doesn't feel like cards to me.
I don't know. I guess
Just
that's
like
how you
Sticker
see
Star.
He's lost me
Like
here, Dan.
it just doesn't feel that way to me.
it. Well, I mean, I guess you could say, do you consider like Battle Network like a kind of like a card game? Because I
I
guess it falls in line with that. I feel like.
I
Yeah.
don't consider that a card game. Like
It's a card-based
it has,
RPG.
like aspects of it. I understand, but that's not what it feels like to me. Because I feel more like running around on the grid is the most important part. Like for me, like dodging and attacking with a buster. I don't know. The chips are like, I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent, but the chips are more like, special attacks. They're not like cards to me. I just don't think about it that way.
I
Yeah.
like I like
guess
have
you
parts of the
kind
game
of
where
call it like a hybrid.
yeah, I don't know. I like don't touch the buster for long periods of time. Like you just get
Oh no, I use the buster all the time.
I don't know, chips are broken. It must take you way too long to beat that game. Anyway, I'd say it fits more or less in like a card game type of a thing. But and there's the deck building. But the deck building in this one is weird because in Battle Network, like we talked about, there's like combos of chips, why you would do certain things in a certain order. Like you'd area grab and then you'd throw out a life sword, right? And you'd do that so that everything is in the life sword range and would die, right? And that's card game E.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff takes like a back seat in this game somehow. And like Steve said, the cards just feel like kind of random attacks. You would put
Yeah, they do.
And there's like kind of strategies. Like I played with one card called Hand of Pain because I was mostly a blue deck toward the end. And Hand of Pain is like an independent monster that follows you around. Unfortunately, that doesn't attack, but it gives all of your blue cards double damage and halves the damage of all red cards. or red monsters, fire monsters, or whatever. I think they actually are called like water, fire, nature, and earth or something, right?
Wood.
And like, you're meant to put that card in a blue deck, but it gets bodied by the first thing that touches it. And unfortunately, it follows you around, and everything else is trying to kill you. So, it's always in the line of
Right.
fire. So you throw it out, and before you can throw out another card, it's already dead. Right? And stuff like that happens with the support cards. So it makes it really difficult, I think, to do a combo. And there are built-in combos. Like there's the Stonehead trap card that's like, oh, if you get 3 of them set, they'll do a special attack. I had 6 of those things in my deck. I tried, guys. I really did. Tried really hard to see one special attack. I could
Just
not
never
do
got it.
No, I couldn't do it.
Well, I just want to talk about the cards in general too. Some of them feel like really clunky. So, for instance, like this, I don't remember what it's called, like the single attack cards. Um, Basically, there's like this archer one, and like Dawn was saying, like how he tried to get like a special attack on. I like really tried to like make
Oh, it
these
was Trent Archer.
Yeah, it is so hard to hit anything with that because like the wind up attack, it takes forever. And I remember I actually hit something with it, and it was like for meager damage. I was like, "You're gone. See ya."
I'm trading this in at the card shop.
Yeah, I wasn't about it. But like, then you got other cards like the ghostly armor, where like you're trying to stab with like the lance.
Yeah,
It
he's
takes so
reeling
long.
back, and you got to turn to
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah,
It was
a lot of these
some of
are
the
designed well.
some of the cards just weren't like they're like literally okay. So like with like the rune the bosses that also use cards like the rune bearers or whatever, and they're like jumping around, dodging attacks and stuff like that. It is almost impossible to hit them with one of those moves, while they're also trying to like summon cards too, because they get like the iframes.
I like the set it and forget it guys, like the Tiger Mage. You just go to a corner, set him down, he just shoots fireballs throughout the fight for you.
Yeah.
So Tiger Mage is like one of the cards that's designed how it should be. Like you set him and he doesn't move. He stays where you go. Maybe he shoots the occasional fireball at something that comes in his range, and then he gives you half mana cost for. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the mana system. So there's like crystals, right? And every
Which is
card,
baloney.
Get rid
yeah,
of it.
every card has a crystal cost, and then once you run out of crystals, you start spending health. And I don't know what the ratio is. I couldn't
Such
figure
an
it out.
unneeded mechanic.
I know that like one time I casted Mind Flayer when I had like 2 crystals, and it just straight up killed me.
That whole crystal mechanic itself, I think, is just bogus.
And you
I honestly
replenish
think this
it,
game
yeah.
would be better
Yeah,
if it
Would
was
have
just
been
gone.
way better without it.
yeah. You have to replenish them by going into the line of fire, basically. Like you need to hit an enemy, like actually strike it, and then the enemy will drop crystals, and you need to go in there and pick them up like quickly before they can recover and start wailing on you again.
Yeah.
How about when you hit them with the last thing that you can with spending your crystals, and then all of a sudden they stun lock you for like 3 or 4 seconds and you can't pick up any crystals?
Right.
There were,
And they despawn after a while.
there were times where I was sitting on the couch like, get up, get the up, get up, and then just to get creamed to get knocked
so
down again. I'm
terrible.
just like, oh my god. Like
Yeah.
I had to spend health and then use a recovery card so that I didn't die. Basically, like I'd spend health to use a recovery card that healed me more than the health I spent, so then I could spend on another card that was bigger. I guess that's the strategy, right?
So I didn't get any of like the super like overpowered cards, but I think my favorite card that I got was called the Water Bird, and it basically healed you to full HP.
Yeah.
So like it almost kind of like negated the whole crystal cost thing.
I got one of those.
Because when I was playing like near the last stages or whatnot, I didn't even care about crystals. I was just like I had so much of like sea monks and whatnot to like kick like that kept replenishing my water bird. So I was just basically in the back spamming like summons and whatnot, and just not even worrying about how low my health was getting. And then because was always banking on that water bird to like heal me to full.
Yeah, if we want to talk strategy, I found a strategy that Lysianthia and Danko Misty played played with us this week, and he told me there's a viable strategy out there called spin to win, which is what I played. Where like there's
Really?
three
What is
different
that?
so there's three different spinner cards, right? So spinner cards are independent monsters that circle around you and deal damage, right? So one of them is Carbuncle. He's like the
Oh yeah,
first
yeah.
one you ever encounter. And the first time I used Carbuncle, he got stuck on one of the barriers, like I was up against the edge of the map, so he got stuck, but he got stuck in such a way that he was like dragging an enemy boss with him, and he hit for like 4 damage, 4 damage, 4 damage, 4 damage, 4 damage, and the boss couldn't do anything about him, and it nearly killed the boss by itself, and I was like, more carbuncles, please, because he only costed 1 crystal.
Yeah.
And then there's better ones called the Whipworm and the Juggernaut. And like the Juggernaut actually
Yeah.
dragged so I got good at maneuvering against the side to do this on purpose. So the Juggernaut grab the final boss and just like dragged him along the edge of the side, hitting him for 15 damage a pop. Like you could make that thing hit for
Wow.
hundreds of damage if you positioned it well. Like it was just, you know, spin to win was absolutely great. And then a card called Kraken, which is like he just pops out and he's technically a weapon card, I guess. And he comes out and he just does like a big like whoosh with his tentacles and he hits like, I don't know, like 2 feet away in like a big radius. And if the enemy's standing in the middle, it'll hit him twice. And it deals like 60 damage a pop, 120 with the Hand of Pain out. You just go ape on him. So
Oh my
blue
god.
deck, dabba dee dabba
Wow.
die.
So I actually won to the final boss, and I think it was because it like glitched out or something. So I had like independent deck, and I had a steel skeleton out,
Yeah,
and
that's what I used.
and literally for some reason the final boss was not hitting him, and it got to a point where he like trapped him in a corner and he couldn't get out, and he was just sitting there just like wailing on him,
Yeah,
and I was
that's what
just like,
happened to me. Like,
I was like, dude, I'll take the W.
I think I took the steel skeletons out because they were wicked bad against the guy before him. So that was my problem, I
Maybe.
guess.
well, I put it in right at the end
Dude,
because
he was putting in some work.
I had run out of cards, and like in the middle of pretty much every level, there's a card station where you can replenish cards into your deck that you've picked up in the level so far. So there's a chance to not run out of cards in the dungeon. Just for all of you who haven't played before. But yeah, right before the final boss, I added cards to the deck because I had what I thought was pretty cool 30 cards at the time. But right near the end of the boss, the last boss there, I threw a steel skeleton in the deck because I had one, and he did the same thing for me that he did for Dan. He just sat there and beat on the last boss until he died.
I was confused.
The
I
god
thought
of
like, is the final
destruction.
boss going to do anything about this? Like, yeah, God of Destruction. Are you going to do anything about this, or like? I guess not. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show.
There's a
So-
lot of bad things in this world, dude.
Yeah. Maybe you
But
guys didn't
steel skeleton, hell yeah.
the worst. Maybe you guys didn't get to experience it then, but I died to the final boss like 10 times. And I found out the hard way that he has an attack. There's nothing else like this in the whole game, by the way. He has an attack that brings you from full to 1 health that he just does.
Yeah, he
with,
never
like,
hit me with it.
Like he does it with no wind up and very little warning. And you might figure out after a few times that if you kill the elemental guys around him, he can't do it. But the elemental guys are just like ads that basically
Yeah, the
attack
wind
you,
up and the
so-
warning are the white lines that like go between them.
Yeah, but it doesn't take very long.
So maybe he did. Maybe he did hit me with it. Maybe he did hit me with it, and I just didn't care. Because, like I was saying before, I just
steel skeleton will dispatch you.
Well, like I was saying before, I just foregoed the whole crystal mechanic. So a lot of the time, I was at 1 HP anyways. So maybe it was hitting me, and I just never noticed.
You can kill yourself with cards.
Maybe.
Are you sure? I don't
Yes,
think you can.
because the Mind Flayer killed me the first time.
I didn't die to cards.
Yeah, and like I actually wanted to talk about that for
I
a
don't
second
know.
too. Like you get cards that you can't play very very early on. Like you start with 10 crystals, and I think the Mind Flayer is like the second or third boss, and his card costs like 18. and like you're like,
Yeah,
I
oh
it's
had
crazy.
3 of them before I got an enhancement on my crystals.
yeah, and like
Oh my god, dude.
I couldn't
I didn't
cast it.
I didn't like how the runestones are the only way to upgrade your base character. Like you start with 100 HP and you start with 10 crystals, and there's no way to upgrade that except for story progress. Like there's no level ups and stuff. You know, the cards gain experience, and you can use the experience to either duplicate the card or turn it into something else. I'm hesitant to say evolve because a lot of the card trades are not really like,
Yeah, so,
yeah, they're really more like
some of them are
trades.
downgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but anyway, that's what you use the experience points for. It's kind of, again, very weird choices going on here. It's kind of like they never played a video game before
Yeah.
they decided to make one. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I use the transform mechanic like a little bit, but like you guys were saying, like some of them were like strict upgrades, and then some of them were like downgrades. It was like sometimes you'd get like Carbuncle would turn into something stupid, and I was just like, why would I do that?
The
I mean, I don't
stupid thing
remember
was
like the
not
exact
the whipworm.
combinations.
The whipworm.
Yeah,
what you need.
Whipworm put in some work for me.
He's a savage.
which one was the whip? Which was the whip? Or was that the guy with the whip that like created the fire?
No,
At
he
the end of it?
spins
he's
around.
the wood guy. He spins around, and he has a tentacle that spins around too. And
Oh,
he, like
yeah,
whack, 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 whack.
I never got one. I got something similar to that though. I think it was called the fire golem, where like it was
Oh,
a summon card or whatever, and one time use, and then you would get like fireballs that would go around you.
I used that, and I'd push things into corners and smack, smack, smack,
He's a
smack.
crappy spin card. He's like, so and for some reason the whipworm seemed to reduce the enemy's iframes. Like if the Juggernaut hit him, they would get like knocked down. It would take forever to be able for the Juggernaut to be able to hit him again. But the whipworm, like I had one fight where I was fighting 2 vampires and I busted out 2 whipworms and they were like Simon Belmonting like the crap out
That's
of
a fight.
the Draculas, like
That
just
fight.
Uh,
crushing them. I was like,
Yeah.
too
Two
bad for you
vampires right at
guys.
the end. That fight's tough.
You activated
Yeah.
my trap card.
oh, like the bodyguards or whatever to open the final door. You talking about,
Yeah.
Steve? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
You know what boss that actually like beat the crap out of me was the rune bearer. The second time you fight, I don't remember her name.
In the
Helena?
Coliseum.
Yeah,
Helena.
I probably died like 10, 12 times. I was getting so like tilted on that fight.
What do
Dude,
you
the
mean
Rune
you
Bearer
don't
fights
remember
are
her
the
name?
worst because like
She's only like one of 5
you can
characters in the
skip
whole
the
game.
cutscene.
Dude, I sped through that game, but like seriously, like there was like I was using like that archer card I was talking about and like the ghostly armor, and like literally there was a point. I'm not lying when I say this. Like I used the ghostly armor where he like charges back and then like stabs. Like as the stab is going out, they summon a card and like completely negate my attack.
Yeah, you
And
never
I
hit
was
him with
just
the
like,
ghostly
this
armor.
is unbearable, dude.
Yeah.
You
The
should get an
Rune Bearer
achievement.
fights are just like completely obnoxious because they can summon like as much crap as they want. They're constantly summoning, and it's like game breaking because
Sequences, yeah.
game sequence breaking because like it pulls you out of the controls so that
To
you can have a
watch
little
their
cutscene, and
animations.
the enemy's
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
I don't
And-
want to see their Yeti or their lycanthrope. I don't care about that. I'll just move. But stopping my gameplay so I can see a cutscene, it's
Like-
so annoying.
Like a million times too. Like, and then on top of that, they're jumping around like this, doing this like dodge, and it's just
You're like,
oh my
how come
God.
I can't dodge?
That
How-
fight is
how-
so bad.
How come I have to walk around? I can't even dodge. Like, let alone the fact I don't have an attack.
There is a red fairy that says if you time a card correctly, you'll be invincible for attacks.
You are, yeah. You have iframes while throwing a card out. It's not even a timing thing. Like if you, oh, and
No, not even just that, but like if you use a summon,
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are invincible
So-
while summoning. Like they can't hit the creature. So
right?
Yeah, to put the icing on the cake in that fight too. Like, not only is this like character so hard to hit, I actually got him down to like a pretty low HP, like maybe like 1 or 2 hits, and then they use like a fairy card to heal themselves up to like half, like more than half. I remember I was like playing on my ROG Ally, and I just like kind of like put it down and just like stared off at like nothing. I was like, "Are you effing kidding me?"
Uh, I mean, it's
A lot of strange choices in this game.
it's so strange, right? But like the shop too. Like there's gold. You can go buy cards, but you'd never know it because you don't get gold anywhere other than when you sell cards. And I was so afraid of selling cards at the beginning because I couldn't go back to the locations, right? Like once you beat a location and you fight all the goblins and you get all the goblin cards, you're like, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to see goblin cards again, so I don't know if I want to sell them, right? Like, and they're not worth that
I
much gold. Weird.
I started with 50 gold and I ended with 50 gold.
That was
You didn't
was
find the
almost
golden
me.
goose?
I didn't sell any card at all.
I sold cards.
Like you'll just have
so like
save
I
after
sold
save.
cards
Yeah.
that I knew I wasn't going to use, but I would save like, I don't know, 3 of each card that I might use, and I sold the rest.
Yeah. I use the transform mechanic a decent amount, but that's where all like my extra cards went.
Transform's really funny
I
too
didn't
because at the
transform anything.
beginning you gain like no experience for your cards, and like you might exit the first level and you're like, oh yeah, this card has 50 experience. What does that get me? And you look and it's like you can't even sit at the table for less than 1,000, Junior. And you're like, 1,000? How long do they expect me to play this game? Like, I'm not going to upgrade this card 3 times into what I like for. Look at that one. That one needs 5,000. I'm not sitting here with playing this card for 5,000 EXP at 50 a whack. No.
Yeah.
And you
Luckily,
can't even
it ramps.
grind.
It ramps
Like-
way up though. Like late game, you're just flush with experience points, and you're like, I'm not trading
You're
my
getting
steel skeleton in for this
600 or-
poison
Yeah.
card. Get out of here.
I don't want to sit at your table.
No, yeah, get out of here. I'll take your steel skeleton for 5,000 experience, and you can have this nightmare that lays down a poison trap. No, get away from me. Don't touch me.
So, Don said that he leaned into water very heavily. Dan, did you have an element that you leaned into?
No. So I tried varying different decks. Like I tried an all weapon deck at one point, and it was working good for a little bit, but then like I ran
You
into
found
that
out you ran out
Helena,
of cards.
or not even that. It was just like I think I swapped back to the independent cards when I was getting bodied by that boss that we were talking about. So, but like I didn't go for like a specific element. I just used what I thought was good at the time.
Yeah, I did. I kind of played like everything that was good, but I leaned into fire pretty heavily because I had juggernauts and I had the fire golem and
Well, I was kind of nervous doing like a single element because like there's some stages where like they spam that one element, and I remember I used a fire card on like a fire enemy, and I'm pretty sure it healed it. So I was like, ooh.
Oh, maybe.
I don't
I
think
didn't-
I've seen that.
I didn't end up encountering that, but I know it dealt half damage to water monsters. So if you're in a water area, you're kind of screwed. I only leaned into blue. A couple of different reasons. One, because I had the Sea Monk, and I realized that replenished my cards, and then I also got the Mind Flayer, which also replenished my cards, and I was like, oh man, blue is like I haven't seen this like sustain anywhere, and because Lysianthia
Yeah.
lied to me, he was mistaking it with the sequel, where if you lean into a color, you gain affinity for that color, and your cards cost less. So I thought to myself, wow, these 2 other cards are bonkers. I want them to cost less, so I'm going to lean into blue. So I did that. But then all my damage ended up coming from the spin cards like Whipworm, which is nature, and Juggernaut, which is earth. So actually, I ended up kind of playing a rare beats deck
Yeah.
at the end.
I almost wish Lysianthia mentioned that we play the second one because it seems like it's like head and shoulders like just way better.
The reviews
From
are
what I'm
kind of the same. Like if you look at the reviews online, we're in the same score range here, so I'm not so sure about that. But I am
Oh,
curious.
really?
Listen, I know I sound like I'm griping, but I sat there and finished this game in like the first week. I don't know if it's the card battling thing. It's just my sick little brain liking Anything
I
that has
don't
to do
know.
with cards?
Yeah, I'm not interested.
When you posted like the when you beat the game in Discord, I was like, whoa, he really grinded this game out.
Like sometimes a bad game
Is he
really,
seeing
really
something I'm
speaks to
not
me.
seeing?
Like, like I like Digimon World
Sometimes
2. I know it's a terrible RPG, but I love it. I don't know why. I just do.
listen, sometimes you have to play the bad games to really appreciate the good ones.
That is true.
I don't know. We all beat it, so I don't think it's not like that bad, right? Like
You,
I
you
don't
know
know.
you know why? Because it was so short. I
Yeah.
think
Yep.
it's like 16
I
stages, and like the puzzles that they give you are an absolute joke. So like you'll have like a locked door or like a
Puzzles are being
statue that's
generous.
blocking your way, and then like the button's like literally like right there. You just walk over a couple feet, press the button, and you can just walk by it. It's just
It
like,
it
really?
is a lot like busy work. Yeah, like it's not because like it's not a dungeon like a Zelda dungeon where you got to like go explore and find a key to the door and then maybe use keys in a sequence to get to the boss key to get to the door, right? Like it's not like that. It's like
search the dungeon for an item that allows
yeah.
you to solve a puzzle you didn't know how to solve, and
Right.
Mm-mm.
yeah, not like that.
Nope. And you know what it could have been? I
No,
feel like with the cards, but no.
Just a big hallway.
pretty much.
Sometimes
With
a
like
circular hallway.
quote unquote fake puzzles.
But I think the game does okay pacing wise because it's so short. But the missions don't take that long either. Like you could sit down, you could play for like 8 to 10 minutes and beat a mission and put it down and come back
Yeah.
after, which I thought was kind of nice. And it doesn't punish you too hard for losing. Like if you lose, you still get to keep all the experience and the cards you earned in that map. So it's not like it even game overs you and like sends you back to your save, which is nice for a retro title. So.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
It's not like Dark Souls where you lose all your souls when you die.
The
Yeah.
game definitely does turn into like rare beats though. Like so I did the side quests at the end because I beat the game so early. So you can go to like these elemental shrines in the final temple if you have 20 of an element of a card. So I went and got 20 unique cards in each element so I could go to each of these 4 shrines. And you get some like if you think some of the regular cards are busted, man, like there's one called the Blue Dragon. It's that bird you guys like, heals you 100% of your life and replenishes your whole deck.
Oh my God.
Just
Is
start the game over.
Oh my God. Is he included in on that or no? Like, does he replenish himself?
No, but if you have any other card
Yeah.
that replenishes cards, it's going to replenish him too. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's ridiculous. And then there's one that's like a phoenix that has like 350 health, and then it takes damage for everything else on the battlefield. So if you summon monsters
Including
and
you?
something else hits it, it takes damage for him, and then if you take damage, it takes damage for you.
Wow. And 350 is a lot of HP
Yeah,
in that
and
game.
there's a turtle that it has a volcano on its back that also has like 300 HP and like 80 defense or something crazy like that, right? Like a steel skeleton has like I think 60, and he
Yeah.
takes a few hits, and he just launches, he
Oh.
just lobs volleys of missiles into the middle of the battlefield, basically as long as he survives. Like,
Okay, so like with these OP cards, is there anything like worth using them on, or are they
no,
just
you
OP and
you just go kill the final boss with them over and over again if you
My
want to.
That's so
They're just for collection.
terrible.
You can get them before the final boss if you want to, or if you leaned into an element like I did. I could have gotten the blue dragon before it, but I was in like go mode. I was like, oh, this deck's good enough to take me home.
So
I'm just going
at
for
one
it.
point, I summoned the Black Dragon because I didn't have like any other cards, and he didn't even like try to move. I died so fast. I put the Black Dragon out, and it says whenever it takes damage, you take damage instead,
oh my God.
and I died.
It's not a good idea.
Yikes.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
no
I didn't know
thanks.
that's what he did. Yeah. Oh my god, that's
You
funny.
should have
Oh,
you should have known though, because it's like sometimes when you throw out an independent card, like sometimes they get smacked by something and they just instantly disappear. I've had
I thought he was going to be strong, but to make up for it, but he didn't attack. He just died. And I
hard
died.
mode.
the skeleton sometimes.
So I was thinking,
you know,
if you did the black dragon with the phoenix,
Maybe.
now the phoenix will take the damage instead of him, so you won't take the damage.
but he doesn't do
Strategy.
anything. You just said he. Yeah, look,
He's
combo.
supposed to attack. He's supposed to attack.
How big is the black dragon? Is he pretty big?
You want to know how good of a combo it is? It's because this game is not good enough to have a good combo.
I have a combo: whipworm and whipworm. There you go.
There you go.
Two whipworms.
Spinning.
They go in opposite directions.
Yes,
Whipworm,
exactly.
whipworm,
Spins.
carbuncle.
Spins in opposite. Oh yeah, you throw out the there's like a nature one, like the big bee that makes him deal double damage too. You just go completely ape.
Oh
on it.
yeah.
Nothing can even get up. It's like, oh yeah, take that.
So when I had like a summon deck, I had that big B, and I didn't read like the description, so I threw him out, and I'm like running around, and he's like following me, and I'm like, dude, like hit something.
So how come the tiger mage gets an attack? Because all the support monsters do nothing except the tiger mage, who's like the best ever.
I don't know. I didn't
Because
realize they had
imbalance.
cards that like did nothing but like support until I actually sat there and read them. I was
Oh my
like,
god,
oh,
there's plenty of
that's
them.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, one of them is like a treant that doesn't even move, which is actually preferable. The ones that follow you are not preferable, but the treant doesn't move, and he like doubles the HP of anything else you summon or something like that. It's
A
kind of
wizard
interesting.
increases the power of all your summoned
Yeah. I liked
or just-
the bird one or the ostrich one when it made you run fast. That one was sweet.
And he was hard for enemies to hit, and he didn't actively get himself into fights, so it was kind of nice. He hung around for a while. If you threw skeletons
Yeah.
out with him, they like booked. They like became Crimson Heads from Resident Evil series.
Oh, yeah.
the speedrun used some of those.
Oh yeah, tell us about
It
the
was pretty
speed
funny.
run. That's some wild stuff to think someone's out there speed running this.
Okay, so this
How long
game,
was it? 2 hours. 2 hours, right?
no. So the record is held by Seventh Armstrong, and the time is 32 minutes and 25 seconds.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, there's like a ton of out of bounds
Of
glitches.
course.
Like you can clip through walls and fall into the floor, and then you can walk through walls like in the map because there's no collision for the walls. You're below them. So you
Wow.
run to a point where it starts a cutscene like a boss fight or whatever, and it pulls you right into the battle. So you can skip large parts of the maps and lots of fights and all kinds of stuff like that. So
So what are the cards
Um,
you're supposed to use? What's the
so
meta?
like right in the beginning, they do the mission with Gerd or whatever, and then they go into the shop immediately after that, and they sold everything, and they bought like 14 of those stingrays.
the
That
like
it-
weapon stingrays?
Yes, and so they're running through the dungeons, and in any fight they get, they hit like all 4 buttons, and the stingrays go like do 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 and kill everything. Like it was
Oh,
pretty
man.
crazy.
Oh my god.
Very quick.
We have to post a link
And then
to
at
that
the
too.
end, for the final boss, he used like kitty traps. Did you guys see that card?
Yes. What does it do?
No, I saw the Mandragora one.
So when it comes out, it just like does a bunch of damage, like AoE damage or whatever. And
Yeah.
he'd like throw 3 of them out, and it would like almost just kill the last boss or whatever.
My
Oh,
God.
Did a bunch of damage. I don't know if
they-
it's a combo but
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I managed to use 3 of them, but I couldn't get it to work with any of the other cards. So, wow.
yeah,
The combo
he was using,
is meta.
kitty traps.
Yeah. Trap that kitty.
Yes, so. Yeah, but the stingrays and the clipping through walls, 32 minutes and 25 seconds.
It's insane.
I thought
It
it was
took me
kind
like
of
5.5 hours to beat it.
Yeah. It took me 8 to get all the extra stuff too, so it wasn't too bad of a lift. I think it's kind of
Right.
neat that there were side quests at all. Like a game like this, you might not even expect there to be side quests. So the fairies
Right.
weren't too bad.
Right. I guess.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an RPG. Like, RPGs are famous for side quests.
Well, they didn't forget that part at least, right?
Final Fantasy 1 had side quests.
Hey, look, we played
It's on
Sword.
the Nintendo.
We played Swordcraft, or Summon Night Swordcraft story. That one didn't really have side quests, like not at all. Except for like
Mm,
the big dungeon at the end where you could go. Actually, I did do that big dungeon at the end, huh? Yeah. Yeah, you can go all the way to like floor 100 on that and fight like the mega boss at the end, but that's it. It's just the one. So I don't know. Not all RPGs are good on the side quest front. That's all I'm trying to
No,
say.
but you said for a game like this, and it's an RPG.
Fair
So
enough.
I guess I just caught me off guard is all.
You know what's really good? Mega Man Battle Network also does really good at side quests. They do a lot of
Oh
that.
my god. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
They like excel at side quests.
Yeah. Like, and the end game is just so good.
True.
So I don't know. Trying to think of anything else I really have to say here. I don't think it was too bad. Had a decent time with it. We've peeled back the onion, I feel.
There's no onion left.
We got
No
some
more
onion
layers.
seeds to sprinkle on. We're gonna try and
Yeah.
grow. We're gonna try and grow a new game.
Yeah.
All right, guys, ready to wrap this one up?
Sure
Yeah.
thing.
All right. So before we get to our final thoughts on Lost Kingdom, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, go ahead and leave us a like on this video and consider becoming a subscriber. It's free for you. It means the world to us. We have some subscriber goals, meager as they may be. If we get 100 subscribers on YouTube, we'll release another bonus episode. And if we get 50 subscribers on any other podcast listening platform, we will also do a bonus episode. That also includes Discord. We have a Discord community that we absolutely love, that gives us a lot of our material, and it's just a lot of fun to hang out and play games together a few nights a week. That link will be in the section below. Come check us out and join in. So, final thoughts on Lost Kingdom. It's the GameCube. It's kind of a shallow library to begin with. Outside of your top 10 games, there might be some other games worth playing. Maybe this is one of them that's worth checking out. I have a pretty low opinion of the GameCube in general. Steve hates me for that, but it's okay.
I mean, it's just such a jaded opinion, just because there's plenty of good games on it. But
It's one step away from the Sega
that's a
Saturn.
conversation for another time.
I'm
No.
surprised it beat the Dreamcast.
Oh wow.
All right, so that's what we think. Let's see what our viewers thought in our Discord. So we had a poll go up about what people thought about the game itself, and we had a few responses, the results of which are 0% said it's a must-play for the GameCube. I would agree. 25% said play it if you have a chance. 0% said play something else. And 75% had never played it, which I'm not shocked based on the amount of information out there about it. But for now, I think, what are your guys' final thoughts on Lost Kingdom? Before I forget.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I think the game is not that great. There's just way too many problems. It feels rushed. Maybe the sequel's better, and it fixes a lot of the issues that the first one has. But yeah, for me, it's not worth playing. That's all I'll say.
I'm pretty much in the same camp there. I can't say that I laughed a single time while playing. I didn't cry.
Well, the story is very
didn't,
serious. They went for very Shakespearean.
I didn't feel very much of anything playing the game. I didn't feel excited. So, yeah, it's going to be forgettable for me. So,
it's just how it
thoughts.
is when you play a random game every couple of weeks. Occasionally, you're going to get one.
Yep.
It's going to be a little less memorable. All right. So for our next game, I am actually not going to be on next episode. I have a real life engagement, so I'm going to miss that. So I'm going to leave it up to Steve. Leave you viewers in the safe hands of Steve and Dan for next episode. And as a result, Steve is going to pick the new game for next episode.
Is everybody ready?
I'm ready.
I don't have to be ready.
So, well, fine. Be that way. We're going to do our next episode on a game that Dan and I love very much, that Don does not have an interest in at all. So, it's the perfect opportunity to talk about my first real video game obsession, Final Fantasy XI Online.
It's 20 years old?
22 years old.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It's crazy. Time flies, man.
Yeah, I remember playing that game when it first came out. We're old now, boys.
Yeah, we were like, what, 15? Something like that?
Stop it.
Yeah.
I can't believe MMOs are that old. Oh, man. All right. All right. Final Fantasy 11. Is it still being serviced? Can you still play it?
Yes,
Yep.
and it has a subscription fee. It's not
Still.
free to play still.
That's
Gross.
crazy.
We're getting into the gross era of video games where we need to talk about microtransactions, subscription fees, cosmetics costs. Oh, that's why I wanted to do a retro game podcast. We didn't have to talk about this. All right, you guys have fun in that. I'll go back to Lost Kingdoms. Thanks.
One of these games is much better than the other.
One of them doesn't cost you a monthly fee. All right. All right, so find a way to play Final Fantasy XI if you are a fan for the next couple weeks, and come hang out with these guys in 2 weeks to discuss it. What do you think, guys? Game over?
Game over.
Game over.